Nestled deep within the mist-shrouded valleys of the Carpathian foothills stood the once majestic Church of St. Leora, now a crumbling relic tangled in dark ivy and shadows. Though long abandoned by townsfolk, whispered warnings still clung to every weathered stone. The church was cursed, and with it the fate of Sister Leora, a nun whose name was spoken only in fearful silence. Centuries earlier, Sister Leora had been the abbey's beloved veil, revered not only for her sanctity, but also for her rare gift, the ability to heal wounds with a touch, to soothe troubled minds, and to kindle hope even in the darkest times. But such grace was never meant to last. It began subtly, strange disappearances among the sisters, sudden outbreaks of illness, and whispers that the sacred water in the abbey's well had turned black as pitch. The clergy spoke in hushed tones of blasphemies committed within the chapel, but those rumors were dismissed, until the night of the blood moon, when a terrible ritual broke the sanctity of St. Leora's sanctuary. That night, Sister Leora vanished. Her habit was found torn and stained with a substance no villager dared name. The bells tolled endlessly, their echoes writhing through the mist like shrieks, and then things changed. The next morning, the abbey was silent, shuttered against the world. No living soul remained, only shadows where light should dwell. Rumor spread. Sister Leora's soul was trapped, bound by a curse laid during the failed ritual. Her spirit twisted into something both lamenting and vengeful, an eternal prisoner between the realms of the living and the dead. Generations later, in the present day, a young scholar named Alara arrived. Fascinated by forgotten folklore and bound to her obsessions, she sought the truth behind the legend of Sister Leora. Alara was a skeptic, armed with reason and armed with a journal full of old texts scraped from musty archives. But as twilight bled into night, the boundary between myth and nightmare began fading. Alara crossed the threshold of St. Leora's church just as the sun disappeared behind a bank of thunderclouds. The air was thick with cold dampness, and the smell of rotting wood and ancient incense stung her nostrils. The heavy oak doors creaked shut behind her, swallowed by the suffocating silence. Inside, her footsteps echoed uneasily upon the cracked stone floor. The pews stood in shattered disorder, their wood splintered like broken bones. At the altar, an ancient tapestry flapped quietly, though no breeze stirred. As she inspected the place, a chill seated itself behind her ribs, prickling her skin. From the shadowed choir loft came an unsettling sound, soft, rhythmic, a low chanting that seemed both far away and dangerously near. Alara felt the air shift as a faint ghostly glow emerged near the altar, the delicate outline of a woman shrouded in white, her veil torn and trailing behind her like trailing smoke. Her eyes glimmered with unbearable sorrow and ancient pain. Sister Leora. The spirit reached for Alara with hands that shimmered like frost, murmuring in a tongue lost to time, begging silently for release from her torment. But the moment was shattered by a thunderous crack. The church's great bell began tolling, not the slow call of evening, but a rapid, frantic signal that shook the very bones of the holy place. The walls groaned as if breathing in agony, and the shadows deepened to blacker than night. The specter transformed before Alara, her face twisted into a mask of fury and vengeance. The chapel's floor seemed to ripple beneath her like a dark mirror, reflecting unredeemed souls. The veil fell away, revealing a ghastly visage, hollow eyes blazing with cursed fire. Words poured from her lips, no longer pleading, but condemning. You seek the truth, but truth is the last curse of the damned. Alara stumbled backward, terror clawing at her throat. She tried to run, but the shadows reached for her, cold fingers like barbs pulling her deeper into the rotting heart of the church. The chanting rose again, joined by other voices, anguished, accusing, echoing through the stillness. Faces began to materialize in the dust motes, the other nuns, forever trapped in the eternal night, their eyes empty and mouths agape in silent screams. Desperately, Alara remembered an obscure passage from her journal, a fragment of a prayer meant to soothe restless spirits. She whispered it shakily as she clutched a small pendant she wore, a relic from her grandmother, believed in guardian saints. Moment by moment, the raging shadows recoiled, and the horrid bell ceased. The ghostly congregation vanished, slipping silently back into their cursed prison. Sister Leora's spirit appeared one last time, her face softened and serene, as she whispered, "Remember me not as a fury, but a soul lost to shadows. Heal what was broken." Then she vanished, leaving Alara kneeling on the cold altar floor, breathless and forever changed. Alara left the church with the dawn. The mist lifted as if the sun's light burned away the darkness that had held St. Leora's church in its grip for centuries. But as she glanced back once more, she swore she saw a faint flicker of white veiling the ruins, a silent guardian watching, waiting, forever bound by the veil of sorrow and curse. From that day forth, Alara vowed to uncover the hidden rites that could finally free Sister Leora, before the curse claimed another soul trapped between light and shadow, forever haunted by the veil of St. Leora.
On the outskirts of the forgotten town of Black Hollow stood St. Maro's Church, once a proud sanctuary, now a crumbling relic swallowed by fog and thorny brambles. The villagers dared not approach after sunset, for it was said the church was cursed, and so was the nun who had vanished there long ago. Sister Eleanor was the last to serve in St. Maro's pews. Known for her unshakable faith, she suddenly changed after a dark ritual gone wrong, or so the whispers say. The church condemned her, marking her soul with a curse so vile none could lift it. One cold autumn evening, a curious historian named Marcus entered St. Maro's to uncover its secrets. The heavy oak doors creaked open into a suffocating darkness, broken only by faint candlelight flickering from the altar. As he moved deeper, a chilling wind swept through the nave, carrying faint, broken hymns, distorted and laced with despair. Suddenly, a shadow detached itself from the peeling walls. Sister Eleanor, or what was left of her. Her habit was tattered, her face pale as death, and eyes hollow black pits. She did not speak, but her presence screamed of a tormented soul, trapped between worlds. Marcus tried to flee, but the church's doors slammed shut, echoing like a demon's laugh. The air grew thick with the scent of decay and something far worse, rotting prayers. Eleanor's ghost glided toward him, chanting in a voice both sweet and venomous. "The curse binds all who come seeking. The damned shall remain." Desperate, Marcus stumbled to the altar, where an ancient blood-stained tome lay open. The script seemed to crawl and twist as if alive. He read aloud the last words of the ritual that damned Eleanor, and the room shuddered. But the curse would not break so easily. With one last bone-chilling whisper that chilled his very soul, Eleanor vanished, only to leave behind a hollow silence, broken by a sinister whisper carried on the wind. "You belong now." Marcus was never seen again, and St. Maro still waits, its curse alive in the shadows, forever hungry for those who seek forbidden truths.